Okay, so we want to have a look at the empty spring system just for adding radial springs, and you'll start by creating some rig, you want to use for you want to use your springs in, and ideally, as all those springs are based on a model namespace, you'd start doing creating a model. So I'll do that. I'll just create an object and put it in a model. And then I'll clean up. I'm hiding my model here, and I'm using a different controller for this. So I'm changing this to be a box and make it something like this. All right. The next thing you want to do is open up the empty spring toolbar. So just go to View, Toolbars, and then you'll find the MindThink Spring here. And what you do is you basically, when you start, you just select the object you want to add a spring to and hit the Create Spring button, which will create a spring in the right location. And after that, you can add more springs by selecting the control objects for the springs. You'll select this, create spring, rotate a little bit, make it maybe a little smaller, create spring again, rotate, scale, and do it again. You can also obviously select this one again and create multiple ones. For example, for creating trees or branched structures. That's about it. The system for the springs always resets on the first frame. So frame 1 is, so to say, the reset frame. So whenever you want to go back to frame 1, the springs will reset to their original animated pose. So if you want to have a look at the spring motion now, I'll just up the frame out count here a little bit so I have a longer play range and start moving our rig controller. So as I start moving this, you can see how our springs react. You can pose the springs too, so you can actually pose them, so you can animate each one of those if you want. Additionally to that, we have HUD controls for each one, so you can just select this, and if you have the display info turned on in the viewport, you will be able to see the controls here. There's also a button on the toolbar which enables you to toggle the display info for the active viewport, so just hit that, you'll see it, and you can play with the parameters of each one. So as you see, each single spring has these controls, and you can also select them to change values for multiple springs at the same time. Also, additional to the usual spring system, there's an object created too when you create the first spring, which is called the wind. And the wind is basically just a control you can move around to give the lock of if you're having a directional force on top of that. So you can add, animate that too. For example, turn it down a lot to get gravity happening. So this guy is always going to hang down a little bit. Yeah, that's about it for the animation part. If you're happy with your setup, you can just start animating. And what I'll do now is I'll go back to 150 frames and I'll start some animation here. So let me just move this guy up, move it over here, key again. You'll see how I can move this guy now. And let's do some rotations as well. Get some more motion happening. Something like this. Alright, next thing we want to do now is we want to plot this as, basically add caching as, this is not going to render in the render farm as it's simulated. So how to do that? Well, it's pretty simple. All you do is you open up your Explorer, select your simulation group, which contains all of the simulated objects. And what you do is you hit plot simulation, and this will then run through the animation again, create F-curves for you, and disable the simulation operators. Now if you start scrubbing, you can see how it can scrub. If you want to go back to a non-plotted version, select the simulation group again and hit make sim live, and there we are. And now you're getting live operator skin. So if I move this, you'll see I have live feedback. That's about it. You can use the simulation group to envelope, or add other objects in here. It's fairly straightforward. Everything's scripted, so feel free to open up the plugin and have a look at the implementation of the Spring. Yeah, that's it. Enjoy.